G'day, I'm David Applegate, author of the book The Boyhood of Cade, book 1 of The Empire of Elves, and welcome to Future Fantasy Empire. Today with me is R.A. Doc Correa. I hope I got that right. Author of Rapier. Rick, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, folks. My name is Rick Correa, and my pen name, like David said, is R.A. Doc Correa. A lot of people still call me Doc because I used to be a battlefield medic.
Sweet. Probably got 1,000,001 stories. But that's a discussion for another day, probably. But
yeah, my wife would tell you that all the scary ones are bullshit.
Yeah, that's copium for you. Now, when did you realize you wanted to be an author?
Actually, probably back in high school when I took creative writing. Wrote short stories, poems, things like that. And I enjoyed it, but then, Vietnam was going on and I was going to get drafted. So I went and enlisted in the Army and wound up spending 20 years as a soldier.
So after that, yes, started to write, I guess.
Well, so, I got back into writing when I started writing poems.
Yep. And
started writing poems to my wife.
Yeah. Poems to your wife, yeah.
Okay, the book that I currently have out is called Rapier. For those of you that don't know what a rapier is, that is a dueling sword, sort of like Three Musketeers, about a young woman from Australia who's a photographer, and she gets hired to photograph life on a newly discovered planet. And on the way there, her and a little girl are kidnapped by pirates, and they spend 9 years on the pirate ship.
Rapier, common dueling weapon of the 17th century. And often associated with pirates, although they actually use a shorter, wider blade called a cutlass.
Exactly.
Yeah. But still, rapier is actually also often associated in science fiction with fighter craft. Small, light, nimble.
Yep.
What do you do?
In this particular case,
sorry,
it's the lag. Being in the United States gives you a bit of a lag.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rapier is the name of the starship that the pirates have.
Right. That's like I said, a common name for ships, although usually light fighters, although a corvette, I actually believe in the British Navy, is called Rapier. What do you do to prepare for a new book?
I have got a whole bunch of notes. And so when I get ready to write a story, I look at these notes, see if there's something there. And sometimes something off the wall will happen, like on Facebook, an author friend and I were talking about people worshiping artificial intelligence. And so I've written a novelette called Church of the Sentient System Ascendant that is all about worship.
The worship of AI, yes, that's techno religions. I think one of the date back to actually story. First science fiction stories were techno religions, I think, in Babylon, and they did talk of ships that flew in the sky, although they predicted they would be wings, galleys with wings. Yes, but
yeah, they also had the same in India.
yeah, the flying pyramids actually came from India. I've read about those. What are your inspirations? Obviously, you've widely read.
Well, you know, my favorite science fiction writers, starting with Robert Heinlein. I've read a lot of his stuff, and Asimov, of course, Philip K. Dick,
I, Robot,
and
I Dream of Electric Sheep.
then there's Kurt Vonnegut. Most people don't realize his book Slaughterhouse-Five. It's kind of a time displacement story, but he was actually in Lincoln's Air Force's firebombed the city.
Yeah. It's
my favorite inspiration would be Heinlein.
Yeah. It's amazing how many writers actually were in the forces. Although Fleming was a real life spy. So was Tolkien, by the way. He actually spent time with the British radio services. It's amazing how many.
It's amazing how many really good writers. Great minds think alike, David.
Yeah.
They have a military background. Most people don't know that Heinlein is a graduate of the Navy Academy at Annapolis, and he was going to have a naval career, except he got sick at sea. He was on a destroyer, and he got so ill that they discharged him from the Navy. And so to make a living, he started writing.
It's believed Tom Clancy based Jack Ryan on the fictional Marine that Heilemann wanted to be. You know,
I would not be surprised.
Yes, the dropout who becomes a spy. Yes, there was always those accusations around Heilemann and a few others. Hemingway was a spy. Hemingway was a spy.
Also, Hemingway was a communist guerrilla.
He ended up. He was he embedded himself with Antifa in the Spanish Civil War, and again from there he shipped with them to Cuba. A lot of people don't know that most of the Cuban revolutionaries weren't from Cuba. They were from the Spanish Civil War. They were men without a home.
Yeah, they had their experience fighting Franco.
Yeah. Yep. And it was actually Antifa in Spain who shot Eric Blair, better known as George Orwell. They shot him because they didn't think he was communist enough. He wasn't, because he was a Democrat socialist. They considered him a step down from the fascists. You know, just a wee bit. Of course, that's the pot kettle pouring the kettle black. But a lot of writers, we just keep running more and more into writers, don't we? Who took more than a few pot shots in their day. Although Heilemann only got as far as the target range, I believe.
He got discharged before the First World War started.
Yes. But he actually, according to some, he writes as if he was on the battlefield. So he probably had more than a few friends still to swap stories with. Probably knew enough of his old unit.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely certain of it. how he wrote Starship Troopers and the characters in it, he had to have been talking to people that actually had been under fire.
Hello, Jonathan. Not just that, I believe, not just speaking with vets. I think he also, I think he did interviews. I think probably did odd jobs for the military, interviewing people or something like that. Because he got both sides.
Oh, yeah.
He perspectived both sides so well that he wasn't just talking to the one side, just the U.S. Marines. He was talking probably to quite a few. That's a good thing, actually.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt.
People don't understand the writer's perspective, but like current day events, you have to read the other side's material. You have to try and understand their motivations. Otherwise, you can't write your own. You can't have your own. Can't have a bad guy, or if you don't have a side that you understand, you gotta understand why the other side is doing what they're doing. Otherwise, it's pointless. You've just created a MCU character. Villains with no motivation other than I'm the bad guy. So I take it Heidelman's your favorite writer, or do you have a favorite book?
Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers.
Reason,
please don't compare the book
to the movie. No.
Yeah, please don't compare the book to those awful movies.
Actually, the thing is, I didn't think it was an awful movie. Yeah, I didn't think it was an awful movie until I read the book. Sorry, and then I realized how much they got wrong. That they didn't know
exactly
the nuance. No nuance whatsoever.
Oh. Yeah.
That was Van Hoven.
The only movie I've ever seen that almost the only movie I've ever seen that almost matched the book was Hunt for Red October. So
yeah,
if you see that and then read the book, you won't be disappointed. Pretty much anything else you will.
Yeah. Well, you want to give your impressions of just the fact that Van Hoven was it Van Hoven? Van Hoven was channeling his days as a boy during Nazi occupation. Was there anything else in the novel particularly missed that I think would impress people to actually read it, because it's well worth it? I mean, the social commentary.
Yeah, in the movie. Yeah, well, first of all, just the basic sci-fi in the movie, they have the arachnids shooting eggs into space to colonize worlds. The arachnids built starships.
Yeah, I believe, that's right. That was the biggest difference, was the arachnids were not simple-minded.
Oh, no, they were very intelligent.
Yeah.
And the other thing is a lot of people consider Starship.
Yeah, a lot of people
consider Starship Troopers a treatise.
Yeah, treatise on society. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people.
That wasn't his method. He actually wanted to be anti-war.
Yeah, he didn't like. He was not a big fan of combat.
No, he wasn't making fun of it. He was ridiculing it.
Yeah, but if you pay close attention to it, he is also comparing a true republic to a total communist society.
Yeah.
The arachnids are a total perfect communist society.
Yeah, the arachnids, was whereas in the book the revolutionary ideal of the American Republic, as if the revolutionaries were still in charge, and that the people were, it was a government enjoying 90% popularity. They weren't bullying people to go to war. They were quite easy they were getting too many volunteers. They had no shortage of men and manpower. Their problems were the Iraqis were
As a
always
matter of
just
fact, they were
smarter
trying
than
to
them.
dissuade people.
Yeah.
Well,
They had the Iraqis were too smart for them, and eventually they were almost beaten to a pulp before they saved by technology gaining that technological advantage, I think, is the obsession today. But sometimes, I think like you're saying with cyborgs and earlier and stuff we talked about. I think unfortunately Clark I don't think Clark ever explored cyborgs. I think it was always androids with him.
Cyborgs are a very touchy subject for people, but I've read a number of articles on various military journals. I keep up with the topic. The U.S. military is strongly looking into cybernetics, cyborgs. They want to enhance soldiers' physical.
Yeah, I read when I was at university. Yeah, when I was at university, I read a white paper called Alternatives to Bone Regeneration, that the military were quite convinced that there was no immediate answer to bone regeneration serums, that it would be probably decades of research, and in the meantime they should look at bone replacement. And that was one of the beginnings of cybernetics, was bone replacement. Can we replace human bones with how much can we replace? How hardy are people? And of course, as doctors would note, the more surgeries you undergo, surgeries are just as bad as bullet wounds. You replace somebody's hip, a young fit soldier.
I'll attest to that.
Just as bad as having been shot, as far as recovery. That is right. We can rebuild him is actually an attitude still prevalent today. They do want to rebuild mankind. It's just they are arguing over the science, not the morality, not should we, but how to.
That seems to be the nature of mankind. It's never should we do this, it's always how do we do this.
Yeah. You mentioned journals, so obviously you do a lot of research for your books. What else do you get into, so to speak?
Rapier, razor. I've been doing a lot of research on Chinese, because the Chinese Empire is one of the antagonists in the story. And one of the characters is actually a princess from the Chinese Empire. And so translating that to a star empire,
not easy, but...
and adjusting it for the fact. So that, got to research Chinese, at least names and language, to get that in there. Then one of the characters has a Zulu background, so I've been studying Zulu culture. That's very interesting, by the way. And then for another book I'm writing, Sophie, it's a vampire werewolf book. She was a year that Christopher Columbus discovered the New World and became a vampire. And so I've been trying to learn a bit about Italian culture from that time period, so that this character, even though she's in the 21st century, she still has that Italian cultural background.
That was a time when cities had their unique cultures. The Italian Renaissance was still a city-state, and the individual cultures, yes. somebody from Venice would recognize somebody
And she lived in the
from
papal
Rome quite easily because of their accent and their
correct.
habits, even their dress.
And she lived in the
Venetians were quite colourful, and often what we would call a ball gown, they would call a day dress. It's amazing the difference.
exactly.
Between the two.
And because she lived in the papal states, there's also that strong Catholic Church influence.
Lots of
imagine
modesty,
a vampire that says
long
grace.
dresses. But the Peloton dress was actually Greek, not Italian, but it became the fashion under a papal state. I think you know the one I mean. Yep.
And because
later became the nun uniform.
I do. And because the story takes place in Yokohama, Japan, it's weird. How did an Italian vampire wind up in Japan? Then you got to add the Japanese element to it. So it's been kind of fun, actually.
Yeah. So you got the Portuguese traders. You've also got the Versailles traders out of Venice. A lot of the gold backers for the Portuguese and the Spanish were actually part of the merchants of Venice, who, as you know, became the Italian mafia. There's a lot of corruption.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah. But whenever...
And then you can add in that my own background helps with the research. Because as a soldier, I've worked with the Canadian military. I've been to Canada. I've worked with the British military, trained with the British paratroopers at Aldershot. I've been in Panama. I've been in Guatemala. I've been in Mexico. So you get a little of this cultural mishmash mixed up in me.
Yeah. I think by the nature of man, I think men are natural storytellers. And I think the military lifestyle, because it takes so much away, people don't realize, hey, you don't go to the barracks and sit around a TV. It's often and I've met enough soldiers to know that they all when they gather around, it's a story, stories backwards and forwards. Yeah. So I think there's that natural storytelling culture there.
Oh yeah. You let a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, you let a couple soldiers loose. They're going to yammer about all kinds of stuff. And I spent 14 years on active parachute status, and we paratroopers lie bigger than anybody else.
A lot of them count how many jumps off the training. Yeah, I jumped off the training platform. No, I didn't. That was a DCA. anything to increase one's status, because it's a status culture. It really, you don't get those promotion points the easy way. Unless you...
Nope, you don't. But so I've got that strong military background. You add in the computer science background for some of the sci-fi, and then to add to it, I was also a surgical technologist for 14 years. I'm old, in case you can't tell, guys.
Yeah, which would mean, if I talk to you about a white paper on bone regeneration, you know what I mean. They're not talking about natural healing. They're talking about multiple how to get people not with broken bones, but how to basically, he's been injured in the battlefield. No, injection. But they said, I suppose the injection mentality took over from the pill mentality, but we still have the pill mentality. But I've noticed this.
True.
I noticed this. A lot of these biotech people don't seem to understand the nutrient side. Like, how is one injection going to grow an entire bone? It doesn't match in volume. and you look at how inefficient the body is, you're going to have to add more way more nutrients than what you're preparing for. Does it seem to equate with them?
I think I'll send you a PDF copy of one of my novelettes. I think you'll enjoy it. It's called Widgets. So about a guy who was a soldier who got re-engineered into a cyborg. And it talks about all the changes they had to make him an efficient cyborg.
Yeah. Neurochips from the everything.
I think you'll enjoy that.
Very good. Very good. What advice would you give to a new writer other than join the military?
Actually, nowadays I'd tell someone not to join the military. But as far as advice, most important thing is just sit down and write it. Just write it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, write it. Doesn't matter how bad it comes out.
It's called the first draft for a reason.
Exactly.
But I think there are better ways to drop.
The number of mistakes I made in Rapier are monumental.
Same. I still have people pointing out mistakes, but it got to the point, I tell people I have language disorders. I can misspell the most common of words and I won't even notice, I will get words out of place, out of order. I can't. I've had so many editors try and they still can't find them all, it's that thing with human nature. And even these machine learning editors can't fix everything, I mean, there are people would be shocked how many books are out there with errors in them. So I hate the fact when people pick on my errors, because how many editions did J.K. Rowling go through? 8 before the first book was
just
reprinted. They actually
take a look at any of the greats. Jules Verne. Look at Jules Verne. You'll find a mistake there. H.G. Wells. You'll find mistakes there. But the stories are so good that you just
when a story flows, you don't notice. Yes, when a story flows, you don't notice. So I think there are better ways to adopt a writing culture and a storytelling culture. Sorry, and I think one of the best ways is other storytellers. Learn the craft from those who have learnt the craft.
I fortunately have managed to connect with a number of authors, all kinds of different genres, really good authors. And one of them is also really good at doing book covers. And bless her heart, she's produced 4 book covers for me and is working on a 5th. And God willing, I'll have all these things published by the end of the year.
I'm putting out about a chapter a month on my Patreon on my 4th book. I'm on to my 12th chapter. I say to writers, if I can plink, you can plink. You know what I mean? If I can string 3 sentences together and say this is a chapter, anybody can, because I'm not a genius, but I'm not an idiot. And I think that's all it takes. You don't have to be an idiot. I'm not knocking idiots, but I'm saying you don't have to be you don't have to consider yourself a genius to be a writer. Too many people want to write the perfect American novel, and I think that came about from the 50s. When every time a new novel came out, it would be glorified in the media. It would be hailed as the next great American novel, because there was so far and few between novels published. So many budding writers would every year.
Exactly.
The journalists for New York Times, they were pelting dozens of scripts, dozens of ideas at publishers, but publishers gatekept. We don't have gatekeep. We have less gatekeepers now than we do in the past, but they're still there. And I think in the future, we're going to have even less gatekeepers.
What scares me is artificial intelligence might replace us.
Yeah, I'm building my readership through Patreon. I have only a handful, but it's there. A serialized project on that site is exactly what that site is best for. Either Patreon or Medium. I think Medium or even Substack. I don't know about exclusivity, but there are sites where you have to tick a box saying whether or not it's exclusive to that site. I don't think it's on Patreon. I think it's on Medium or Substack. Do you have to watch out for that? Because some of these sites say it's got.
I'll have to take a look at.
Yeah. But not a lot of writers.
Considering how much Amazon rips us off for.
Yeah. Yeah. I had my first book, right? I had to chop it up and publish the other two parts separately because it was $43 for the free, right, as a collection, and I was only getting 4 cents.
Yep.
So they'd rip you off on the print.
Yeah.
Printed it.
Highway robbery. Talk about pirates.
Because they charge you advertising, they charge you printing, and they charge you hosting. In the warehouse. It's like, what? Okay. Organic
sometimes
discovery for writers. What do you mean, Jonathan? What do you think he's asking? Curious. Are they on organic discovery for writers? Yeah. You mean like, well, in the past, people
not sure, to be honest with you.
I think people that used to be random on Amazon, I think they took that out. Where you just put in, say, science fiction and just hit the enter, and I think it's all ordered now. I don't think you can change it to random. I think it's either high price, low price. It's either price, popularity, alphabetical, and free, I guess. Yeah. No, something else. Relevancy, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, those four are it. They don't have a random discovery anymore. I think publications
to get a lot of reviews to get.
Yeah, it's reviews. It's not how many you sell. It's how many
to get pushed.
Yeah, your ranking is reviews, not sales.
And they'll dump reviews on you. I right now they list me at like 28 reviews.
Yeah.
Because some of the people that do reviews will email me.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of them, Amazon's taken down. I don't know what it is, how they're getting mean. Yes, I daily post on Twitter, Facebook, etc. I'm not paying their advertising rates because their advertising rates take 90% of my profits. People don't get it. Just because somebody hits science fiction in their profile doesn't mean, because it's just too broad a term, that it doesn't mean they're going to buy.
Well, that's like they've got.
Yeah, it's 100 ads.
They've got Rapier classified as space opera. Yeah, they've got Rapier classified as space opera. So only people interested in the space opera will actually see it.
Yeah. And they've classified my both my patrons as adult, even though only one is adult. But I have to put up with that. You don't write adult material, they label all your adult material as adult. So and even if I made a pen name and changed it to and did a children's story, if they found out, they'll make it adult. There's no point to make it, and then they'll question why you didn't.
Yep.
So, but another way writers were often discovered coming on YouTube, finding YouTube channels to be on and talking with the hosts, and hopefully people who are interested in science fiction will get those recommendations or whatever. But unfortunately, the way things are going now, the only tags that seem to be working these days is writing community or writer's life. Those individual science tags are
pretty much
those subgenres. They're not working. They're not getting recommendations. Google AI is ignoring people's hashtags out of the top 100. They ignore it. They don't care about the top 100 in anything.
Yeah, I've got to reorganize the hashtags for all of my Twitter advertising.
Yep.
Because right now
don't work. Yeah. They're not.
But
there's a few that I use because they get because the bots pick them up for retweets. That's why I use them. And even some of those don't always work. Some of the bots don't always retweet because they have too many. So they've got to limit the amount of retweets. Otherwise, Elon gives them a rap over the knuckles. You can have a bot as long as you tell them there's a bot, but you've got to limit your retweets and limit the frequency of retweets. And your retweets have to be random. You can't just select the same people all the time to retweet either. So it's very hit and miss. But one of the things that writing is, it is stressful. It is tasking your brain. How do you cope with that stress?
Three things. One, I talk to my wife. She can be very soothing. Two, I go out and chop wood for my wood burning stove. Three, I take my pistol or my rifle out and I shoot up the mound of dirt I got in my. I own 5 acres up here on a mountain in Colorado, and I've got a pad that I use as a shooting range. And just take something out there and just empty a mag into it.
Yes, I don't have that.
It's a great stress reliever.
Yeah. So I watch. So I do a gaming channel with a friend, co-host, and one of the jokes we have is when he's playing a shooter, we go, minigun goes brr. Joking is a good way to deal with stress. So, minigun goes brr.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, sometimes being on a game and emptying a magazine at a imaginary character is better.
Yeah, he empties magazines, but he hunts down those miniguns. Each person deals with
stress different.
Yeah, he hunts down the miniguns because the brr. Because there's nothing left of the target. Actually,
there you go.
Covered this
one other
question,
thing first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thing is, every summer, the wife and I have our great grandkids out here, and believe it or not, taking care of 4 little ones is actually relieving stress.
Yeah. Now, Jonathan's asked, "Have you got cougars?" I don't think he means the older female kind. I think he means the giant cats.
We have at least 3 in the area. Plus, we have bears. Matter of fact, a bear tried to get in our garage and eat our garbage.
Yeah, I know this sounds callous, but mankind has taken care of most of the stupid animals. Most of the smart ones, they know That's it. We're done. We're not coming near you. So most people actually don't have to worry. But
Well, the mountain
still,
lion,
they seem to know when you're armed and when you're not, and they know what a boomstick is.
well, the mountain lion,
Yeah,
yes, they do. The mountain lion, she thinks she owns the place, and Wheel is a big cat.
Yep.
And if I were to
That's
shoot
right.
at the cat, my wife would beat me with my rifle.
But the cat knows you're armed. It knows what a boomstick looks like, and it knows what it smells like. Because America's taking care of most of the dumb animals. I've seen nature.
Well, this particular
enough.
cat's pretty smart.
Yeah. And I've seen it where they take their young up to the edge of a human property and sit. And obviously, if the young don't absorb what they're observing, they become the endangered list. But I'm not saying
Exactly.
that. Well, I'm not saying we shouldn't be leaving land for them, but they are starting to realize that we are leaving land for them, and they are starting to confine themselves to those areas. But then you get the old ones who think they know better and come out, especially big moose. I'm not afraid of you.
Oh yeah, we have deer come through here. We have elk come through here, and unfortunately, we have hunters that are stupid and park on the road, stick their guns out the windows of their trucks, and drink beer. I had to have a little discussion with a couple of those once.
They're not hunters. They're noisemakers who hope they hit something.
Exactly. I explained to them that my rifle was bigger than theirs. They went away.
In Canada, it's I've actually seen it. Photos of moose just walking down the middle of the highway because it's the law. Give way to the moose.
We were doing a parachute jump in Canada, and a grizzly bear and two of her cubs decided to walk across the drop zone. And we intelligently, thank God, ceased airborne operations until the bear was done strolling.
Not during rush hour,
yes. Big bear.
Yeah, rush hour is basically, that's what I mean about the dumb animals. So Canada's taking care of the dumb moose too. The smart ones are starting to notice. They take their young out, watch the traffic, wait till there's only a few of them, then go out. Then you can prance about because you'll scare the pants off. You'll scare the hoses off them. So what do you do when you're not writing and not scaring dumbasses?
Which means we have even half as much money to live on as we used to have. But we have 5 acres up on the side of a mountain in Colorado. We just work on keeping this place nice.
That's, I think most people don't understand what success truly means. I mean, in reality, it's getting to our age and beyond intact.
That and being able to enjoy it. We're off grid here. I have solar power with a backup generator. I had a wind generator, but the winds are so high here, they fused the brakes on the wind generator. We have a nice house. It's not too big. 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. As it turns out, when you get older, 2 bathrooms are really important. Got a nice garage for our vehicles. Got a well, so our water, comes from the aquifer. It's not city water. It's not gone through all that treatment nonsense. It's nice not to pay an electric bill. We primarily use wood, firewood to heat the house. Hey, when you get away from it completely, you're going to love it.
Yeah, I have solar on my apartment, and I'm very efficient with power.
Yeah, we replaced all our light bulbs with LEDs, so we don't burn a whole lot of electricity.
These are those.
It's amazing. It's really a nice way to live.
Yeah. I have only one light on, and so I do have a few shadows, but them's the breaks. Don't have studio lighting or any of those fancy toys. Some people have fantastic studios. Even the end doesn't from. But that's life. I mean.
If you got.
Yeah. One of these days, you never know.
Hey, you're doing a great show from what you're doing, so you don't need a fantastic studio.
No, you don't need a fantastic. Yep. I'm just saying, a lot of people, they have a fantastic studio. I mean, I know flaunting success brings success, but also, I think you get to a certain point where you're subsidizing somebody else's job for your career. You're not actually enhancing your own. I think. People, I guess, if it's all flash, it's pretty obvious soon, but I remember the early days of YouTube. It was only just or even people outdoors with those early cams. I had one of those early cams, big cord, plug it into your computer, big thing that looks like a police radar gun. Digital cameras have come a long way. But It was like huge. It looked like a police radar gun, and it had no zoom. That was incredible. But the thing is, it had a built-in title system, which was amazing. Although it was like a Nintendo, Take forever to put up the name on the bottom, but you could if you wanted to. Yeah, technology's moved though. I mean,
fun to play with.
A year after that, I had a Dolphin, which was a tiny camera, which did the same job, but it didn't have digital overlay. You had to add that separately through the software. And then Google Hangouts came out. Google Hangouts dramatically improved because then you didn't have to buy expensive software to stream from. Of course, now you got StreamYard, which you can just stream straight off the browser, straight like Google Hangouts, but features. So you want to do a final pitch? Tell people about Rapier, and the links to get Rapier are in the description below. But give people a general rundown before we go.
Sure. Kathy Masters, a young photographer from Australia, gets hired. On the way there, she's abducted by pirates and with a little girl, and the pirates, because they accidentally killed the little girl's parents, decide they have to adopt her. So they stay on board the ship for 9 years. The story starts 11 years later. She's back on Earth trying to take care of herself and her adopted daughter, Cindy, and her son. And she goes back to the guy that hired her to go out and do this photography thing, and tells him all about the story, tells him everything that happened during those 9 years that they were in space. You'll find they swam with whales and galactic nebulae. They rode horse-sized wolves on a planet where these wolves supposedly didn't exist. They battled other pirates, and they were hunted by the Chinese military.
Yes.
And if you're interested, you can go out on Amazon, and Amazon will let you read the first 3 or 4 chapters for free.
Yeah.
If you decide you like it, pick up the ebook, or if you want a paperback cover.
And as I tell people, I mean, you may not like the paperback prize, but take issue with government subsidized Amazon, not us. They're giving us the short end of the stick. They take over a third of the price, and you don't even get 10%. Or they tell you up to 70%. Yeah, that's on ebook.
I don't know.
The paperback, it's not even 35 because they hit you with distribution fees.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, it's everyone that has read it and written a review on it loves it. Please look at the reviews on the Amazon link. You can also find it at Barnes & Noble if you are philosophically opposed to Amazon. And you can also find it at Google Play, Kobo, and on the iTunes Store.
It's amazing. There are a lot of people who are philosophically opposed to Amazon. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, because I do believe in the old adage, when it comes to all matters of taste, the customer is the one who's right about their tastes. I've had a bad review.
Amazon has access to a whole lot of stuff.
I've had a few bad reviews, but what annoys me about Amazon is the 20+ good reviews that they've removed.
Exactly.
But I'm not the only one.
Nobody should.
I'm surprised how many people all say the same thing. Where's my reviews gone? Why have they expired? Sometimes, for some reason, people, when they delete their accounts, their reviews go. Some people, they get Amazon Prime on, well, when they get Amazon Prime for free, on a trial period, if they don't renew, their account gets deleted. A lot of their reviews go.
Yep.
Other people, their review gets downvoted. It gets deleted. Or some people can't poorly express themselves. That gets deleted.
Yep.
It's weird.
For you guys that are starting out as writers, don't let a bad review bum you out. If you don't get a bad review, you're not doing it right. There's going to be someone that is just not going to like your book.
Absolutely. You got to remember, despite how many tickets some movies sold, they're not seen by the majority. They're seen by less than 20% of the population at best. And that's over a year. And sometimes it takes years.
Exactly.
Sometimes it takes years. This is why I don't like box office takings, because sometimes a good movie doesn't make it at the box office, but then it becomes a cultural phenomenon and watched for years later to come. A lot of people don't like Starship Troopers after reading the book, or if they read the book, they don't like it. But it's not a bad movie. It's just the satire people think it's satire, but I think it's ridiculing. It's like MASH. It's anti-war. It's ridiculing the army. It's and militarism, trying to equate militarism with fascism, like they did with Japan. It's that. If they're not with us, they must be with them attitude, and they must be wiped out. If it's us doing it, it's good. If it's them, it's bad. It's very telling when you learn the history of the movie maker, and you go, yeah, he's projecting. But otherwise, it's a good movie. It does have social satire and social commentary on the blind following. Now, the theme of blind followers is not just Heinemann. You get that also with the Dune series.
Yep.
And the
Fremen
Clark's Foundation
are
series.
blind followers of Muad'Dib.
Yeah, the blind
Yeah.
followers.
True.
Yeah, actually, multiple blind followers in the June series.
Yeah, because we are beating up on the
Emperor.
movie.
Yeah. Chapter House, blind followers of the Sisterhood.
Just because we're beating up on the.
Yep. They're having trouble with Chapter House because they've lost their director. They've lost half their script writers. The actress now wants to quit because she's losing opportunities because the flexible filming time is eating into her. You know, she was only able to do one job a year, and that's not enough money for some. Well, you know,
considering what they get paid.
Considering what they did to Henry Cavill, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, just a note on Starship Troopers, the movie. It's fun sci-fi. It just ain't the story.
Yeah, exactly. I recommend anybody who's interested in Starship Troopers read the series. There is satire there, but there's also a redemption arc for humanity, and there is actually it does follow somewhat the path of the justifiable war. I mean, unfortunately, you know, the arachnids, they are smarter, they're cleverer, they are, and yeah, it's a story about overcoming the odds. There's stuff there for everybody if they take the time. That's with any book.
Well,
really,
you know, a little fun note for everybody out there.
Yep.
Meeting intelligent species in outer space is not going to be the wonderful thing Star Trek makes it out to be, boys and girls. Any species that can build starships is the apex predator of their planet, and apex predators are apex predators.
Yeah, it'll be Cortez meets the Inca.
Exactly.
And they were both apex predators. Just one happened to have firearms and was a good shot.
Yep. So true.
I can't remember the series, but there was one, and by the time they got to the end, it was a matter of I think it was Enemy Mine. It was a matter of why, and you don't get the why without reading the why is because we need an enemy. It's our culture. We need an enemy. They were the apex predators on their planet. They wanted to prove themselves, so they started a war with Earth. They were their culture of pride. And that's unfortunately what we will eventually run into. Although scientists now estimate, and I don't know how they come to this number, there's only 26 species in the universe. I'm not going to say we're the only one, and I'm not going to say they're right without seeing the science. But there's stuff they're not telling everybody. I mean, they're not building radio towers to specific frequencies and pointing them at the sky for no reason.
Well, they're looking for intelligent life, and you'll notice they don't point it at Earth.
That's exactly, they're searching for it. We need to find intelligent life. Let's build a tower and scan these frequencies. But I mean, there is enough anecdotal evidence, on that we've received 8 radio signals, none of which have been ever decoded. This idea that we'll just pulse a mathematical symbol and then a bunch of Morse code for our alphabet and then a complex message that somebody's going to decode it.
The old Twilight Zone series, there was an episode called How to Serve Man. and you go through this whole half-hour episode where they're trying to decode the book that the aliens gave them after the aliens had made Earth, pretty much a paradise. And it's at the end of the story you find out that it's a cookbook.
That's that's about right. I think we'll leave it there, but I think everybody will get something. If you're a budding author, new author, or second book, or 20-year experience author, I'd like to hear from people. Work in progress, not work in progress. Finish their series, or just I'm halfway through. I like the experience of meeting new writers and introducing them to the world. It may not be an original.
Well, Dave, I'm gonna pass on your contact information to other authors I know and let them know that you have this show and that you do an interview with them, and hopefully they'll contact you.
Yeah, pass on the questions so they can prepare. Thank you, everybody,
for
coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jonathan, for your questions. It helps you on your journey. That's all the merrier. I think one of our biggest problems with pop culture has always been the congregation around a few water fountains just feel like they're part of the herd. But most people I've come across, they are dissatisfied with pop culture because it's crowded. It doesn't have the variation. It doesn't have their likes. It has the director's likes, and that's not good or bad. It's their taste, and you have your taste, and you're not going to dine on ice cream all the time. Reading culture is different though, and I urge everybody to get into it because, particularly as you get older, you want to exercise your brain more, and you realize TV is not doing it for you. That's why you're dissatisfied with pop culture. We're not really into. We may be visual creatures in what we like, but when it comes to art and philosophy, we've got to read it.
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming, Rick, and happy journeys. And again, thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure, David. Thank you.
Thank you. And I shall end broadcast now.